Well, Dwight, thanks for coming back.
Thank you.
Yeah, we it was fun to reflect on that episode for the last week. Getting to watch it, getting the comments from people. It's interesting how everyone's story is so unique, you know?
Because they're all different people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's what's one thing that's what's fun about this is you're not looking at it's not like you're picking like one niche or one topic,
Right.
of
Right.
let's say, a lot of people, maybe they're doing wildlife or they're doing something
That's
even
true.
though it seems big, it's
Yeah.
kind of small where ours is just the demographic of people 70 and older.
Right.
So you get all walks of life. And so it's neat to hear your story and how different it was than everybody else's.
And there are a few people, like I mentioned to you, that maybe would be nice to get them involved.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anybody over 70,
Yeah.
you got my number.
Yeah.
Yeah, send it to whoever you want. They can make sure you tell them that me and Wayne are friendly people. So a lot of people try and sell it to them themselves, and it's a little bit harder, because they still have this little bit of a fear or nervousness to get a hold of me. But
Right.
we've had a couple people in here where they're like, I was dreading coming in here. Maybe their kid or husband pushed them to it, and then they're like, I had the best time.
Yeah.
So we like hearing that.
Good.
Yeah,
Good.
you let us know, and we'll get them on here. And if
Yeah.
anybody watching this wants to recommend somebody, make sure and put it in the comments because we'll track anybody down over 70. But speaking of your experience, I know last time we talked about Vietnam and we were wanting to move on from that after you spent a year in Vietnam. What was the process like coming home from Vietnam and moving on with your life?
Well, I got home in August, I think, August 11th. I joined the Army in September 11th, 911 in 1969, 68. Got home in August, so I'd spent 2 years in the Army. And I went living with my dad and mom, back out at their house. They didn't much go for that.
Yeah.
They said, you're not going to be doing that. Grabbed me by the ear and hauled me down to CBC. This was so about a month before the school started. I guess the first quarter started in September. So, and I got home seeing all my buddies, and we were out boozing it and drinking and having fun. And
Yeah.
he said, "It ain't happening.
Yeah.
It ain't happening. You're going to school." So he knew the instructor over there because he was in Hanford Computers. So he knew the instructor over at CBC and talked to her and, hey, you got any openings left? Blah blah.
Right.
Openings and
And for people that are watching that don't understand what Hanford is, Hanford was a part of the Manhattan Project,
that's
where
right.
they had the first nuclear reactor in the world.
That's right.
Right.
Yeah. And
I encourage people to look up Hanford. It's pretty interesting.
at that time, I think there were 11 or 13 reactors.
Wow.
Running at the same time. So they're all producing plutonium or different components for the nuclear arsenal.
Yeah.
And he was in that field. He had gotten a master's degree in what did I tell you?
Computer.
No,
they probably didn't have masters in computers yet. Chemical engineer?
Chemical engineer.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so somehow he got into computers when they were doing it, so he had some connections out there, and he knew the professor over there at CBC, so he got me involved in that, and it was, I liked it right off the bat as far as computers go. We had 7 o'clock classes for accounting and psychology that I didn't really think were very important.
Yeah.
But the computers I loved, and we were doing punch cards and little mainframe computers.
Yeah.
It was and 2 years I got out of it about 3 months early because I already had everything I needed and people were trying to hire us. But in that classroom, um, I got into some kind of an argument with a gal in there, and a couple other guys stood up for me. And I come to find out they were Vietnam vets themselves. But she had said something that got me a little riled up.
Yeah.
And we learned, that we just didn't talk about Vietnam.
Right. Because the war was still going on when you were in school then,
Yes.
right? Yeah.
Yes, it was. But there was a lot of demonstrations and a lot of.
Oh, I bet.
John Kerry was throwing his medals into the.
Yeah.
There's all those kind of demonstrations against it. So that was just an indication of how much people hated it.
Yeah.
Or hated on us, calling us baby killers. And that was right after My Lai, too. My Lai, or
Yeah.
where there was Americans were prosecuted for killing civilians.
Yeah.
They killed like 110 civilians or something in a village. And so that and along with Tet of 1968 turned American public against Vietnam War.
Right.
And when I got home, I was part of that. I was part of that. I was a Vietnam vet, so they were all against us. So we kept quiet about it after that. And that first instance of going to school, we kind of kept quiet about it, but
right.
we kept to ourselves. As far as Vietnam vets, we'd talk among ourselves. And
right.
He's still a good friend of mine. One of them that was in class. But we went through and we did all our classes. We were graduated in 1973. 1973, yeah.
Did you guys have many of, like, I'm trying to word this right, because I always hear about how, like, your generation and the older ones, how, like, the men, we describe them in here as people, like, I guess, being hard, or they had to be emotionless. Did you feel that way? Did you feel like you had to, like, curtail your emotions?
Oh, yeah.
Or did you just not have them? You had them and just had to hold them in all the time?
We had to hold them in.
Yeah.
Yeah, it took a long time.
I bet. I always feel I have this weird thought. I don't know if you've ever thought about this, but like with segregation, like, how like Vietnam vets were oppressed if they were known that they were a Vietnam vet. They were treated like dirt.
Yeah.
But they could hide behind just not wearing like clothing or anything like that. But, like people of color, they were treated, just as bad, if not worse, in many parts of the country. I just feel bad because they couldn't hide from it. And it's neat that your generation beat it, though, or worked through overcoming that, the segregation.
Segregation?
Yeah.
Well, I think it was, 1964 is when the...
Was that Martin Luther King was killed in 64 or 63?
He was killed in 68.
68.
But it was the Civil Rights Act of 1964. That's
That's
right.
right.
It was Lyndon Johnson did that.
Yeah.
He signed it anyway.
Yeah.
I think Kennedy started it. But that was the Civil Rights Act of 64. And I'm not sure when they got the right to vote. Women didn't get the right to vote until like 1920.
Yeah.
And I think the colored population was later than that.
Oh, yeah. No. I believe it. It's just interesting to think about, like, your generation. You guys were on the dawn of so many new things.
Oh, I know.
Like the transition through the civil rights, and then obviously the Vietnam War, but then like landing on the moon.
I've always said that
it's wild.
That 60s generation was a big turning point.
Yeah.
First of all, the leaders are assassinated. You don't know what would have happened if we had had Martin Luther King longer and Bobby Kennedy longer and John F. Kennedy longer. As far as what would have happened, it changed the whole country.
Yeah. Have you seen some of the documents just released on the JFK assassination?
I've seen them, but I've gone through them, and there's really nothing that I can
Yeah.
pull out of it.
A lot of people have already seen so much of it. That's the way I've reviewed it, and I've seen some other commentators review it. It's like, it's if you believed what you believed before, there's enough diverse info in there, you probably still believe it. It wasn't going to change anybody's.
No.
It's still.
And they dropped 2,000 files, and if you go out there and start looking through them, one page.
Yeah.
You open up this PDF file, there's one page, and it's a routing sheet.
Yeah.
Top secret.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, there's nothing there. And apparently they've still got more to release.
They just dumped a bunch. How many did they just bump?
They just dumped like 80,000.
Oh, yeah. Is his mic out a little bit? Well, you're going to swivel it into you a little bit. There you go. Sorry.
80,000 pages.
Does it need swung over?
There we go.
Sorry.
You think so? Yeah.
Sorry about that.
They just dumped 80,000 pages.
Yeah.
And a lot of it marked secret. I haven't seen too many that say top secret on them yet. But there's really, I didn't see much. So I figured I went through about maybe a couple hundred PDF files, click. And I said, well, you know what? I'll just wait till somebody
else does all the dirty work.
Gives me a summary, and then I'll go through and look at it. I didn't want to go.
Yep.
Because really, there wasn't that much.
Yeah. It's crazy to think about. Yeah, just like you were saying, like what if those leaders didn't get assassinated? Like looking back on history, it's so wild to think about. I think about this with the atomic bomb. Like what would have happened to the world if we didn't drop that? Well, and then because I've heard two different perspectives from people that have worked in Japan, and they said there's even a population in Japan that were not, I wouldn't say thankful, but they were like, if the U.S. didn't do that, the Japan government was going to be very tyrannical. They were getting that way.
Well, Japan, they treated their prisoner of wars like, the samurai sword is, I don't know if you've ever picked up one, but they're sharp.
Yeah.
They are nasty. And the baton march or whatever it's called.
Yeah.
That was kind of nasty. They were killing people.
Yeah.
And so Japan shouldn't have started it if they didn't want to finish it.
Yeah.
So we finished it.
I think we finished it for them.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was but it's just crazy to think about. What's one of your favorite things that you like? What was the biggest historical moment that you think?
Kennedy's assassination.
Yeah.
I think.
You're the second person to tell us that? The person in the airport, we shotgun interviewed somebody in the airport. They said the same thing.
Yeah.
Kennedy's assassination. And that was 60-something years ago.
63. So it was, and they still haven't released all the documents. Something's goofy with all of that.
Yeah.
Well,
because I think the CIA was involved in LBJ, but I don't know. It's hard to say.
Yeah. And that was also the dawning of the computer.
Yeah.
So when I started, those computers were, it was a big thing to be able to work with a computer.
I bet. Were you pretty proud of that?
Well, I liked it.
Yeah.
I don't know if I was proud of it, but as far as starting out, you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, no.
It's kind of fun to be on those, like, like if you have like the new model of car, I don't know. I just wonder if your generation looked at things the same. Like if you're like, you kind of get it doesn't feed your ego, but it kind of, you know what I mean? It just helps you be like, man, this is really cool. And I got to be a part of it.
Everything was changing so fast.
Oh,
And right now, some of that change has slowed down as far as Microsoft putting out a different version of everything, every 6 months.
Yeah.
And Apple's kind of that way now. Like an Apple 16 phone, I think is the latest. Is that the latest?
Yeah.
You can't afford the most recent because first of all, it's not going to be worth half that in a year from now.
Right.
And But Apple keeps coming out. They have to keep coming out with new versions in order to stay as a company.
Right.
But in the earlier times, like computers, it was the same thing. They'd bring in a new version of Windows, I'd say every year.
Yeah.
And the computers are getting stronger every year. Now I don't notice it as much.
Right.
Because there's only so fast a chip you can buy.
Right.
And if you're going to buy a fastest chip today, well, somebody's going to make a faster one tomorrow.
Right.
So you can't keep up.
Right.
And
it's crazy now because you think about like with computing power and everything, like the computers, when you were doing it, everything was isolated. There was no internet or network necessarily for these computers.
Right.
You were probably putting in the data. You'd have to probably put the data into it, and then
you'd have to
whatever you were using it for.
Yeah.
Or now everything's just app based or streaming based.
That's right.
And I mean, there's a lot of people don't think about this, but there's these giant buildings around the country that are really doing all the dirty work. All you're doing is sending a command to that data center, and it's giving it, and it's doing it at an instant. I mean, it's crazy.
We as programmers, so I programmed for, I don't know, 20 or 30 years. And as we were getting down into the later years of that, there were people like Quicken.
Yeah, I forgot about Quicken.
QuickBooks.
Now it's just QuickBooks. Yeah, but I forget being called Quicken.
Well, it's stillQuicken.
Yeah.
There's still,
we just call it QuickBooks, right?
QuickBooks is the business side.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And that was it. I mean, you could get a payroll system, so you're spending $500 or $1,000 for a payroll package, an accounting package, all you just download it and install it. So you don't have the programming part of it as much.
Right.
But now they're programming web pages. And I never got into the web pages that much.
Yeah.
By then I was kind of a lead or a manager that oversaw people doing the work.
Oh, okay. When you programmed your first computer, what year was it? And could you give us like a brief process of what it would be like to program it?
So there was, in school, they were teaching us Fortran, machine language, and COBOL. Machine language is, you're moving 61435 address. That's an address.
Okay.
Whatever's in 61435, move it to 81222. Machine language. It's it was.
So you're just moving certain things around into different registers
you're
or addresses.
Moving, You're moving whatever's in that field at that address.
Okay.
That's an address, a machine address you're given. So whatever in there, and I don't remember how you got data in there.
Yeah.
But you can move it from here to here and then multiply by 2, or it's all machine language.
Okay.
Fortran's a lot of calculations, so you're doing scientific calculations. COBOL is English language.
Oh.
Move field A to field C.
Okay.
Or you say move Social Security number to field A.
Okay.
Whatever, So and you'd have to type up all the cards. So you'd type up all your cards, and if you just went move field A to field B in one long sentence, it'd print out, in your program, it would print out, but it no spaces or anything else.
Yeah.
So you would say, move field A, blank, 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 to field C, so you could at least read your program listing
okay.
a little better,
So you learned some trickery with it, like
yeah.
Oh, I bet.
And that was COBOL, so you could actually speak English to it, and you call your fields, instead of a machine language, you'd call it Social Security number.
Okay.
And that's, you know, there's a lot of power in computers. And you'd also find duplicate social security numbers. So you'd have to put an A on the end of it. So that field had to be 10 characters long. Your social security number is only 9 characters.
Yeah.
But because of the duplication, somebody died in 1890 with this serial number. You got somebody else. I don't know how it all worked, but there's your duplication. So, and then you'd have a program that would pick out your duplication and see what the hell was wrong.
Okay.
You know?
What were you working on that had the social security numbers in it?
All kinds of stuff.
Okay.
Payroll systems, pension systems. Yeah, your social security number is a key field a lot of times. So you'd sort on it. That's the main field.
Yeah.
Your payroll system comes in, kick out, okay, this social security number had $403 pay this week. And you'd kick that out by social security number into your pension system for $400 and whatever, $30. Yeah.
When these computers were like coming online and software was getting, I guess there was a demand for it. Was the initial demand in finance and administrative thing? Did it mostly have to do with like banking? Because I would have think, you always hear this thing like money makes the world go round. You would think that would be like the hard, like software programmers would be like, we need to sell to this market because money is the most important thing at the time.
And it was financial, payroll, and another big thing was documentation. So the Kennedy files that are being released right now are coming out of the National Association of Records Management. So it's an NARA system in the government that has all your critical documents copied and indexed.
Yeah.
And that's how come they found more of them from the FBI. They found another pile that weren't in the NARA system. And there's also a lot of those documents they released hadn't been OCR'd yet.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure what OCR is, but it's a...
Wayne can look it up.
OCR
for documents?
OCR, yeah. Optical character recognition. That's what that is.
Oh, okay.
So you can...
We got it.
So you can search on it once they are OCR it.
Oh, okay.
And a lot of these 80,000 pages that they just released hadn't been OCR'd. So that's why you're having to go through and open up each individual PDF file.
Well, now they have such recognition. I mean, you can just Control F on even an image now. And it can find whatever on an image. It's pretty wild. I never thought about that, because it's not like they're going to release the McKinley assassination documents. I mean, they're all probably handwritten, but there's...
And that's what a lot of these documents that they just released, a lot of handwritten notes on them.
But they were able to scan them in. I wonder how long it was until they got scanned in, or was it right away, I wonder? Or...
Well, like McKinley, you could go out there and find McKinley documents, I'm sure.
Yeah, probably.
All the records of the government are they're scanned.
Yeah.
So later on in my career, we were scanning a lot of documents for Hanford.
Yeah.
And I had like 16 people working with me where they were doing just the automation of that, and they were scanning mainly.
Yeah.
But scanning like I mean, thousands and thousands of pages every day.
Crazy. What was the first scanner? Can we look up when the first scanner was made? Because when was the first computer made? I think it was at the University of Delaware or something like that, if I remember. Just first scanner in general, like image scanner.
Coming out of the service, when I came out of the service, they gave me a DD-214 that had been typewritten.
Yeah.
And when I went down to VFW, I was going to join, and they said, where's your DD-214? What's that? I didn't know what it was.
Oh, yeah?
your separation paper, dummy, kind of like that, your separation paper.
Yeah.
And everything, all my awards and everything were abbreviated. So it's a 2 or 3 letter, like Bronze Star, BS. CIB was CIB, and that's all on the DD-214. Well, the Navy people didn't know how to read that.
Oh, yeah.
So they couldn't really tell that I'd ever been in Vietnam.
Yeah.
And the everything was typewritten. Couldn't believe it. And that's since 70, 71.
Yeah.
Everything was still being typed and up in the, what do they call it? Carbon?
Yeah, on carbon paper on a typewriter.
Ever seen any of that?
Oh, yeah.
Where there's carbon copies?
Yeah.
Like 4 or 5 copies. You're hitting on well, that's what these Kennedy documents are. There's a lot of mistakes in there because they were all typed. So then I'm looking through these files, and you got a lot of hand scratches on them that are crossing out the N that was meant to be a T.
Yeah.
That kind of stuff. So the original documents have been tampered with.
Yeah.
Or and a lot of hand scratching on them. So you'll have to see some of them to know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, I've seen some, but now I never, I don't interpret it that way. But now when I look at it, I'll be like, oh, this is why it's this way.
Why is somebody making notes on it? Like in handwritten, and that's before those are on documents before they get scanned. So now. Some of the stuff was redacted. They're calling that's a big thing.
Oh yeah,
redacted means that they took a black felt marker and marked through some of that stuff. Well, some of that they can never get back.
Oh,
if it's
because it was the original.
If it's redacted on the original, they can never get that back because they haven't scanned it. They scanned it.
Redacted.
And
it was done by a marker. It's not like nowadays where they're just putting a black.
I don't know what they're doing nowadays. Is that what they're doing? They're just
I'm sure they have a main copy and then they block out the. And then I'm sure there's a secret passcode or something to the other ones. Yeah, I never thought about that.
So the computers have just gone nuts. I saw it from where I was. We saw it all the time. I mean, really advancing fast.
Yeah.
And a lot of the programming was your birth date was 5/13/50. Well, you can't. A lot of your birth calculations and how old you are and everything can't work off of 50. What is it? 2050. So we're getting a lot of people that were born in 1920. Say in 1905. That were born in 1905, and they're in the Hanford system like that. But your age calculations are goofed up, especially on pensions and things.
Oh yeah.
So in 2000, they went through and had to do all the Y2K stuff.
Y2K, yeah.
And it was huge.
Yeah, I remember.
People were working overtime. They
thought the world was going to shut down because they wouldn't be able to calculate all this stuff.
Yeah, they did. And, that was the year 2000. So, and they had to go through and all the, all the databases had to be changed to 4-character year, or at least made sure that they were.
Yeah. Isn't that crazy to think about?
Oh, I know. It's and
you were what, 3 years old probably then? Yeah. I remember I had a friend's dad who had a closet full of all kinds of stuff just in case the lights went dark. He was one of those guys always prepared just in case.
It's crazy for me to hear all this about Y2K because to me it's like, you guys are serious? Like you thought it was going to end?
They thought everything was going to shut down because the computers would.
And tell you the truth, a lot of it would have. And some of those are really important computer systems. So they started upgrading the classification of the systems. Like the class 5 or whatever the designation was the highest. So they had to hit those first because they would. I don't know. stop the reactors from running or something.
Right.
I don't know, different classes, categories. Payroll system's pretty high category
bet.
because people don't go without a paycheck for 1 or 2 weeks and they're going to be out of there.
Right.
So
Wasn't it also people were hoping that their credit scores would reset, right?
yeah, I wouldn't doubt that. Yeah.
Because they were like maxing out their credit cards.
Oh, really?
Because they're like, well, the credit system's going to crash. I might as well max it out.
Yeah. And never pay on it. Yeah.
Yeah. So it was an interesting career, but all that time, I never told anybody I was a Vietnam vet. Didn't tell anybody.
Yeah.
And it was kind of a different atmosphere because I had to work to prove myself because I only had a 2-year degree.
Right.
So I was over in Olympia for a while, so I went to Chehalis Community College over there to learn income tax.
Yeah.
And I don't know, there was a couple main classes I was going for, not accounting. I didn't really like accounting, but income tax, that's really interesting.
Oh, yeah.
You got to read everything about your income tax because it applies to you, you know. So, or another way is to figure out the loopholes so you can get more of your money in your pocket, And one of those is businesses,
Yeah.
Business is a good write-off. Still is. But
I like how, it's funny, maybe not to get, I just want to ask you this since we're on the subject. When you look back at like everybody complaining about all these billionaires and stuff and the taxes they pay or don't pay and the way they learn to get around some loopholes, I always kind of thought my family owned a business and a lot of my mentors owned businesses.
yeah.
And I saw how hard they sacrificed and their families did. And I always felt like, you know what? They generate a lot of income for the government, a lot of tax in one way or another.
Oh, yeah.
Through, but I don't know. Do you feel they should get a break? Because I know that it's not easy running a business at all. I always feel like maybe that's their reward to feed into the economy.
I didn't feel I was getting paid what I was worth at a certain points in my career. So I started a landscaping business, and I was running 2 crews. We ended up having a nursery out there on Queensgate.
Oh, okay.
And I did that for 12 years at the same time I was working. So I was working like 100 hours a week. So
you had a business and you were still working in computers.
Right.
And
that business was, I'd run 2 crews, landscaping. And it was hard. I was doing all the accounting, all the estimating, all the billing, which taught me something. I would never try that again because I'd be up until midnight and I'd get up to go to my real job at 6 to be there at 6.
Yeah.
I was starting my real job at 6 in the morning so I could get off early at 2:30 or whatever it was, 3 o'clock. And my real job was relaxing, but I'd get there early just to have an hour before people would start asking me questions. They'd line up out my office door asking me questions about the different computer systems that we were in charge of. And I couldn't mix as far as the phone calls and the estimates and all that. I couldn't do anything out at Hanford related to my business on my side. And it was productive. It helped me retire at least 5 years early.
Oh, good for you.
But it's a lot of work, and you're talking a lot of work. And you have to know taxes in order to make it through it.
Yeah.
Well, I did it for 12 years. And November 1st come around, we were blowing out all the sprinkler systems around. We did... In those 12 years, I did over 700 sprinkler systems within the Tri-Cities.
Wow.
And then November 1st, we'd come along, we'd blow them all out. Or it's a process. And I'd really look forward to November 1st.
Yeah.
Guys are out of work. I'm not providing for their families anymore, but we'd have that 5 months off, 4 or 5 months off.
Yeah.
April 1st come along, we'd start back up. And then the nursery, we were doing the nursery out there where Tri-Cities Battery is on Queensgate.
I don't know where it's at.
Queensgate
I don't
and
go out there
Jericho
much.
off of Keene Road and Queensgate.
I'll have to look next time I go over there.
Yeah. And I sold part of the nursery to them. The other part is there's a roundabout right in there that was pretty, it was a good spot for a
Yeah.
nursery.
What drove you to be like that? Do you know? Like, what drove you to have like an entrepreneur mindset?
I don't really, well, I guess I do know, because when I was going to Chehalis for the income tax, the reason I was taking the course was to figure out income taxes. So I was going to, at least my own. I've never had anybody do my own taxes, but because I wanted to do my own.
Yeah.
And then you start figuring out, wow, what are all these? I think I'll start a business.
Yeah.
Oh, look at this! You could write off your gas.
Yeah.
If you're using it,
Mhm.
I mean, so on and on, and I just started learning more about that aspect.
Yeah.
And we sold the nursery in 2004, so I've been out of it for 20 years now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you've been retired for 15
Yes.
or what?
2010, so that's 15
yeah.
coming up on my birthday.
Yeah.
Got out.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
Was all the extra work worth it to you?
No.
No.
I should have had somebody doing payroll. One of my guys could have been out estimating, and
Yeah.
It shouldn't have been so hard, so many hours.
Yeah.
And that takes away from the family.
That's right.
So the family was, I'm lucky.
Yeah.
I'm very lucky that the wife stayed around
Yeah.
and, understood, raised our boys pretty much, I wouldn't say on our own, but, we, I didn't just I wasn't working just Monday to Friday.
Right.
I was working 7 days a week.
Yeah.
So that meant that Saturday, instead of baseball, I'd be doing estimates and billing and
Yeah.
using QuickBooks, billing,
Yeah.
all of that. So and then working at the same time, working a real job.
Yeah.
So,
But was your family your motivation factor to work so hard?
yeah, it was.
I mean, that's normally what it is.
And I wanted to buy the property. I've owned quite a bit of property around, but I wanted to mainly for the kids' college
Yeah.
fund, as an investment to get it back. So
Yeah.
yeah,
I like that.
yeah.
I was wondering, it sounds like a lot of people who start a business will describe it as like an education, hard knocks. What would you say the most important thing you learned through that experience is?
It was communication with customers, people. It really was. And there's a lot of strange people in the world.
Isn't that crazy? When you do home stuff, like home sales or something?
Yes.
Oh, man.
Yeah, you mean like, oh, yeah. A lot of people try to take advantage of you. And, I remember one place here in Kennewick. The guys had raked it up really nice, and it was one of the first jobs we ever did in Kennewick. Come into the place, it looks pretty good. And gave him a price. He jumped on it, and we come back in and started running the trencher and huge rocks.
Yeah.
Kennewick has some bad areas with huge rocks in the yard, and he took advantage of me. So there's people that you just get to meet all kinds of people. You know, I was talking to somebody the other day. We were on the phone so much, making estimates, calling and receiving calls and everything, that I just don't like to get on the phone that much anymore.
Yeah. Yeah.
I just as soon email or text. So I'm doing estimates now. Right now, some people are coming over and giving me estimates to trim my arborvitae, for instance. You know, I got a guy I want to wash down the shop. They're all doing it with neat little apps on their phone that they send a text message to you, and you know, it's
Imagine what you could have done with your work ethic and a little cell phone in your hand.
Yeah, a little. Well, I guess we didn't. I don't know how much cell phone I was using when I was really doing landscaping quite a bit. You know, in the 90s.
The networking is remarkable right now.
Oh,
on a phone. I mean, that's wild.
I mean, it is all over. Like you say, the server farms. I don't know what you call them.
Yeah, data centers.
Data centers.
Yeah.
Are wow, and there's a bunch of them being built or on the works. Or
that's what I do. Yeah, I do the automation during the construction portion of them for the infrastructure. Yeah, it's wild. You know, I always look back on, you know, like you talk about like work ethic with your generation. My grandpa's 16 years older than you are, 91. And my grandpa growing up, my grandma always worked hard too, but she was a homemaker. But like my grandparents, we never went on vacations with them or anything. We worked on the weekends.
Yeah.
But it was fun work. You know, we had a logging outfit and a farm.
Oh, wow.
And I learned so much, you know, just working and doing things. And I get kind of maybe entitled every once in a while where I'm like, I just wish I could go on a vacation with my grandparents, or I wish I had those memories. But then I look back on it and I was like, you know what? My grandpa was doing all that work for us. Yeah. I mean, he really did. So, you know, I'm sure people around you probably saw how hard you work and appreciate it, because it's a big sacrifice to run a business, and also like to do it for your family that's like the most honorable thing you can do, really.
Yeah, it's there's a lot of things you do for your family, really, you do, and
the good ones do.
yeah, that's true. So that was the only actual business that I've been involved with, as far as working and having to keep it going. Yeah. The biggest thing is you worry about your employees.
Yeah.
Because you're feeding their families is what you're doing. And if you don't get enough jobs coming in, you get some slow days in there. Well, these guys aren't paid if they're not working.
Yeah.
And then the nursery situation, we could keep guys working in those slow times.
Yeah.
If I didn't have any job for you today, go down and run the tractor around the nursery a little bit and clean it up.
Right.
You know? So there was some of that.
How'd you deal with the stress of that?
A lot of stress. There was a lot of stress, but I was eating stress tabs, vitamins like B12 or whatever it is, pretty heavy stuff. And that was helping me as far as keeping my temper under control and everything. Yeah. And after staying quiet after Vietnam for so long, I kind of learned not to explode so much.
Yeah.
But
yeah, I think about how stressful, like I've just been around a lot of people that have owned businesses, and there's something common with all of them that run successful businesses, and I've never seen one of them panic.
I can't.
And they either do it behind closed doors, but some of them I've spent a lot of time with them, and they just have this methodical like way about it where it's like, I can do this. Like they don't so I think that, I don't know about for you, but for some of them, I've asked them these questions just through like mentorship and trying to learn from them. And they said kind of like, well, you can't let it get to you, or then that's when you fail.
Right.
It's always this mindset, like get the next one, it'll work out, trust yourself, and every one of them's told me that. And I think that's kind of, they must just learn to cope with it.
Well,
I guess, or you fail.
Yeah, I know I was running our landscaping business on a shoestring so that a bad check would really hurt.
Yeah.
And I remember, here's a funny story that I go out to a job, and I'd show up at different job sites. So I'd show up at this job site and drove down there, and you know what a trencher is.
Oh, yeah.
It'll dig a nice trench. Well, I go down there, and here's a trencher hanging on a 6-foot cyclone fence like this, dripping gas and everything out of it.
Yeah.
And I'm just going, what? And that particular job also had, he had written me a check, it bounced. He wrote another check, it bounced. And I never got my money out of that job until I went to court.
Yeah.
But at the same time, before I even went to court on this guy, I repaired his fence because it was my guys that did it.
Yeah.
So we put him in a new section of fence, and then he still wouldn't pay me.
Yeah.
And we ended up with a good job out of it, but he wouldn't pay me. Yeah.
How did you? Some people, I don't know if you ever struggled with this, but like I have this hard time. Like I did sales for a while, and I was pretty good at it, probably on the personality side, but I had the hardest time getting money from people. And it, like, I could never process in my head that other people's money or my money was more important than other people's money. So did you have to, I guess, have much of a salesman approach, or was your work, or, I mean, obviously it's honest work, or did a lot of the work come to you? Do you remember?
Well, a lot of the work would come to us from advertising or something else. But
Yeah.
when it came time for the bill, and I'd always take half my money down.
Yeah.
When it came time for the bill, I would make it a point to go over to the house and present my bill, and that it had the sales tax and everything on it. Well, you walk up to somebody's house and you see a couple bent sprinklers or shoddy work.
Yeah.
I wouldn't give them the bill. So I'd write another work order for my guys to come out to fix it up, clean it up. Then I'd have to go back and give him a bill.
Yeah.
But it was important to me we put a 5-year warranty on our sprinkler system so that you don't have any dry spots.
Yeah.
Over the next 5 years, you don't mess with this system and you have a dry spot, we will repair it.
Oh, nice.
We'll fix it. So it was a good selling point. Of course, you get guys that tweak with them and add sprinklers to their line, and But anyway, that was a big, year. At the same time, we were doing as much as we could on the river as far as river rats, and up on the beaches. That'd be my relaxation.
Yeah. What about the river rats? I've heard you mention it a couple times.
Yeah.
What was like, river rats started when you were a kid here. And for people that aren't from the Northwest, we live right on the Columbia River.
Right.
And if you ever get a chance, you got to come out and see the Columbia River all the way from
Canada.
Yeah, all the way from Canada down to Astoria, Oregon. You got to see it. It's remarkable.
Huge.
But how did that start?
It was, well, we were.
I know we talked about it a little bit last time.
Yeah, we did it. We were living on the river, so we became the river rats, and over the years, there's been a lot of people in and out. As far as part of that group that does quite a bit of boating and fun on the beaches up here or any place. We spent a lot of time behind Lake Roosevelt, behind Cooley Dam. Cooley Dam is huge. They have a 150-mile lake behind it, which is Lake Roosevelt, all the way up to Columbia border, up to Canada border.
Yeah.
And, we spent a lot of time on the water, learning a lot of it, and just water skiing, tubing, everything, And it's just a group that the River Rats is just a group that calls themselves that, and because we're all friends.
Did you have your core? You said you had some of your core group of friends from when you were young,
right?
Like, what has that meant to you having your? Because I think you just saw on the internet. Like, I just saw one of my childhood best friends. In here 2 nights ago for the first time in 27 years. At the same time, our other childhood best friend, we were all neighbors in Florida,
right,
was here. So the other one just randomly, I don't think Wayne knew that. Yeah. And it's like and when you, after not seeing somebody for 27 years, it's like, I don't know if you've ever been through that gap, but it's like, are my friends move the same? Yeah, that's since Wayne's life. So I don't even think Wayne was born yet the last time I saw my buddy Casey.
True. That's true.
But it's crazy when you sit down with that person after that long, and like, I think you genuinely love them. Like, you look back on like we were genuinely just so tight in our camaraderie in our neighborhood.
It doesn't take anything to start up a conversation either, does it?
No, it was so cool.
Just about like it was 25 years ago.
Yeah. What is that friendship, lifelong friendship, meant to you?
It meant quite a bit because there's not many, especially not many. There's not many left anymore.
Yeah.
There's come and go. They come and go. They're not, nobody lives forever. It's too bad.
Isn't that the truth?
You lose friends and you lose parents and their parents, I know one of them right now is 96, and he just lost his son, who was a friend of mine. So your parents don't usually have to go through that.
Yeah.
As friends, we weren't expecting something like that either. It's 65 years old. He should have lived longer than that.
Right.
But the lifelong friends are very trustworthy. They're not ones that are ever go against you or talk bad about you or anything else. Yeah. It's and
I've always heard good friends, they talk shit to your face and talk good behind your back.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know about that. Never heard that. No, I haven't heard that. But my life with I'm 74 right now. It's been pretty good, and you learn a lot.
Yeah,
and hopefully you can mentor other younger people.
Yeah,
I know that a lot of my employees from the landscaping, they get in contact with me a lot.
Yeah. I bet that feels awesome.
Yeah, it does, because they were good people.
To me, there's nothing better than a mentor.
Yeah.
Like, I think I don't know if I told you this, but like mentors, I had the best mentors, and some of them are gone. Like, they died in their 60s or even in their 50s.
Right.
And it's why I do this, because there are so many kids out there and adults that maybe never had a mentor, and they just need to hear a story from like one person that has a lifestyle that maybe that would help them, or they would,
That's true.
Like, we live in a really cool time, but the mentorship, we've talked about this, is why we do this.
I'll be dang.
Because I think that the generations before us, like, they're a gift to the younger generation. You have to have mentors because they've been through life. They're going to be there maybe through the loss of a loved one, or through you having a business and success.
Right.
And if we go through things young, and my friend that's here, he's snowboarding, but he's a scientist, and he was talking about how I think it's humans are the only land mammal that go through menopause, and they think we evolved that way. because if you look all through history, any tribe or any type of community always protected an elder.
Yes.
Before literature. And then obviously we could use literature to document info. But they think that we maybe evolved into having menopause to save the females in our tribes because of the risk during childbirth so that they could live on to teach the next generation.
Well, that's getting pretty deep.
Yeah, he was telling me this. There's a theory about it. But it's, I didn't know that we were the only land mammals that go through menopause.
I'll be dang.
Yeah, probably we're the only ones that live long enough is what he's saying.
Could be.
Yeah,
Could be.
so it's pretty,
You don't think we have 125-year-old people getting
on Social Security? Well, now that you told me about the computers, I think that they were actually 25. And
well, when you look at a database like that, people, there's been a lot of people on Social Security at one time or another.
Yeah.
So they're just a bunch of empty records out there. They're not all gaining. They're not all collecting Social Security. But the menopause thing, I don't know. That's 100-year population. I don't know what our lifespan is anymore. 72 or 82.
It's like 75 and 74. We looked not that long ago.
Is it? Yeah. So it's could have been earlier. So now we're getting up there.
Yeah, we're getting to see through the cycles and stuff. It's pretty crazy to think about.
Yeah.
It's why we pick, we have people message us like, hey, I'm, 50 something or 60 something. And I'm very hard at 70 and older because we've already lost a couple people that we were going to interview.
Oh.
And they didn't make it like within a month. And I just told them like our time, it's nothing against you, but I just have to do.
Yeah.
Not to tell you that your time's coming, but I'm just saying you play in the game of math and life,
Right,
and like you said, not all of us live forever.
No.
And I know and it's funny too. Like you've seen it and I've seen it. It's funny, when you're young, you grow up and you're like thinking, I'm going to grow to be old and all this stuff. Well, then you get into your 30s and all of a sudden, you're losing friends.
They're calling us old at 40 now.
Yeah. Oh, don't tell me that. I'm creeping up on it.
I know.
You look like you're doing pretty good though.
Yeah. Well, nothing medically wise or anything,
You're one of the good. You're like the good old boy club, like that grinded for so many years, and it's really incredible that like you think about, you're talking about your buddy that got, the guy that you knew that got run over by the tank or something.
Yeah.
In Battle of the Bulge.
We were talking before you came in, and he was 101 years old, and he was at the Battle of the Bulge, and we had that birthday party for him at 100.
Yeah.
And he just, he's they got a lot of knowledge.
It's wild.
He's, that would be my dad's age and time frame, World War II. They just got a lot of knowledge if you want to listen to them.
Yeah.
I don't think I listened enough
to
my dad or his generation, I hope that we can, the younger generation coming behind us can listen to us, and I think they are. I think
it's coming around.
Yeah,
because it's like good.
I'll say it. I mean, I coach these kids. They work harder than my generation ever did. The kids coming right up underneath Gen Z. These kids. I mean, I'll say it, they have us beat. I mean, they also say yes. They say yes, sir. It's really cool to see.
That is nice.
Those are the kids that my generation raised in Wayne. Thank you. Yeah. Well, and have you noticed that through your lifetime, the cycles of, like we see like everybody's like, oh, millennials. We see all these groups complain about the millennials.
Yes.
And I'm always like, yeah, but the boomers kind of raised them, or, there's those, you kind of go back with this. Have you noticed that at all?
Not really. I can't say that I have.
Yeah, I always wonder about that too, because I never really noticed that either, and I don't know if it's because of the like where we live geographically, if it's different in the cities more than the rural areas where you have.
I grew up And it was a whole different time because there wasn't anything. The best thing that we had was outside.
Yeah.
When the street lights went off,
Yeah, it's time
we
to go
came
home.
home.
Yeah.
But we didn't have moms calling us at
Yeah.
5 o'clock to tell us dinner was on.
Yeah.
We knew when dinner was. And if we didn't show up, we didn't eat. And we didn't eat that night either.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, they wouldn't leave their food out for us, you know.
What's cool about that? I got goosebumps when you said that. I'm the last of that generation.
Could be.
I was the last generation before cell phones, internet,
Yeah.
everything in the home. You know, there was no. And if you were 10 minutes late, they knew when those streetlights came on.
Yeah.
Because they were looking, out the window.
Yeah. Yeah.
And they knew if you were late, it was not good.
No.
And you showed up for dinner at the table.
Yeah.
Like you didn't show up late to dinner.
That's right. Or you'd have trouble eating. And you know, we were working hard too. We worked hard for our fun. We wanted shotgun powder. I needed to mow a few lawns to get me that tub of shotgun powder. And the kids, and I'm probably as much to blame as anybody else as far as your own kids, they weren't, I mean, allowances. I don't think there's such a thing as allowances anymore. You know, we used to get allowances. If we do our chores around the house, we'd get $1.
Yeah.
You know, I don't know if there's that kind of thing anymore. That,
you know, I do that with my daughter. She has a green light card, and I can put money on it. And it's been a really neat tool. We don't have strict chores.
See, that's automation.
Yeah. And I she'll do it. She'll know.
Yeah.
But you know what's funny is she'll know. Like she'll go do a bunch of stuff, and even though it won't be negotiated beforehand,
right?
Like I'll send her money, but I make sure and tell her. I'll be like, hey, you know, because you took the initiative, you know, to do this, and she's done the really neat things like kids are doing now. One thing about technology is if you raise a kid with I think good characteristics, right, they'll learn how to use those tools correctly, access to the internet.
Yeah.
She has a nail station in here in her bedroom, and she'll pay her friends will pay her. And when we just went to Disney World, she made $65 in 4 weeks.
Because they'd come in and do nails.
She would do their nails.
See,
and she would, I'm bragging on her, but because she didn't want me to spend my money on her when we went to Disney World, because she knew the trip was expensive.
Yeah.
But so when we were there, then these kids have
Disney World or
Disney World. I go to Florida. I used to live there. I love Florida. Disney World is it's cooler than if you're a computer guy and a engineering type mind. And being in nurseries. Yeah. It's the Flower and Garden Festival right there.
Oh.
Have you ever been there?
No.
You should go.
No.
It's incredible. And actually they do I think they do stuff for veterans.
Yeah.
But it's remarkable. The engineering, it's the most well-oiled machine.
Yeah. Oh, and I had a friend of mine out of our class. Randy was his name, and he built guitars for some of the best musicians. I forget his name, God. But he also was a character artist, Disneyland.
Oh, cool.
You know what that means?
I mean, yeah. He was probably an Imagineer or a character artist. We could probably look him up. Yeah. They document all that stuff.
Yeah. Randy Fulmer. Fulmer Guitars.
Huh, that's remarkable.
And he just passed away last year, I think.
Oh, no, that's too bad.
But he was doing guitars, high price guitars.
Yeah.
But he was also, his main job was character artist for Disneyland.
Oh, I'd love to see some of the artists that he's done.
And I think
or some of the characters. Randy Fulmer.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, okay, I was gonna say yeah.
You see him?
Oh dude.
Pull him up. He can drag it in here and we can look at it.
Chicken Little, The Emperor's New Groove.
Really?
Yeah, some of my favorite movies when I was a kid. Yeah.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
You mean he was involved in some of that? Can
you drag it over here so we can see?
Oh yeah, sorry.
He was down in L.A., I think.
Yeah, look at this.
Oh yeah, there he is, Randy Fulmer.
producer. Oh, he was a producer too.
He was a producer. Okay, 2023 producer. That's him, yeah. But he's also done.
he did Beauty and the Beast.
Yeah, this guy's might be a legend. Wow.
See, Richland, Washington, there he is. He was a producer, known for, anyway.
Oh, that's too bad.
Yeah, but he was also a craftsman for guitars. I don't know if that's going to show us that. I'm pretty sure that's who I'm thinking of. He was also a craftsman for guitars.
He did visual effects on all the major big hits for Disney.
Well, now see, animation. There. I don't know how much of that he was actually working on the animation, or
Well, it
he
tells
was a
right there.
producer or something.
So here, like, he's the effects animator, and it'll tell you if he's credited
There's
or
the
uncredited.
assistant supervisor, animation, special effects. Yeah, so he was.
He's up there. Yeah. I mean, some of the best movies. All Dogs Go to Heaven.
Yeah. I don't know how we got off on.
I don't know. I got into Disney.
Into Disney? Yeah.
I normally bring it in. Because you know what it's been to me? I don't know about you, because your childhood, so you were born, well, let's see, right around when Disneyland opened, probably.
Could have been. Yeah, could have been.
And I have this weird thing, because because I didn't have an imagination as a kid. I was very engineering. I was always into like outdoors, tree forts, things like that.
Yeah.
But as an adult.
Tree forts.
Yeah, the best.
Yeah.
And we were efficient at our tree forts. We would take like 2 16-penny nails and just nail them next to each other. And that was our steps, because lumber was hard to come by. You know, like we built steps out of nails. And we had one time we came home, I forget where we were. We were just talking about this with my friend. And the neighborhood lady, she had some professional rope access workers in there tearing our tree fort down. We had a tree fort so high up.
Oh.
Yeah, we were bummed, but it's probably saved our lives. But I always think just like even what we do right here, like Disney, kind of going to Disney, it helped me kind of design this studio.
Yeah.
You know, just being inspired.
I wouldn't doubt it. Yeah. That's a good inspiration. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I just think like, I don't know, maybe you have some advice on this, but one time I saw a guy speak and he said, you should always show your kids greatness. He said, whatever it is, like even if it's in business, sports, music, art.
Yeah.
And I think that's why I like to go to Disney World, because I can do all that.
I've never even been to Disneyland.
You better go.
And I've never taken my kids to Disneyland. My youngest son is special needs.
Okay. Is he pretty mobile? Like, can he go do stuff?
He was up until about 18. Then he started getting seizures.
That's too bad.
And so he's in a wheelchair a lot of the time now, but we get him up and walk quite a bit.
Oh.
But he's living by himself over here in Kennewick with care.
Oh, okay.
So we had him until he was about 30. But he went to Disneyland, so they get this little trip going.
Yeah, the Make-A-Wish or whatever it is.
Yeah, it's different groups, and they all went down to Disneyland, and we weren't invited.
Yeah,
but they had a ball.
Yeah,
you know? He's down there in a wheelchair going through Disneyland. I don't know what all it was.
Oh yeah,
what it was about, and what all he went to, or but if they can understand some of that.
Yeah.
Like any person, really, you go in like you were inspired by Disney World. Well,
yeah,
Disneyland's got a lot of inspiration.
Oh yeah, well, it's what inspired George Lucas to do Star Wars.
Oh really?
Yeah, he was there on like you can look it up. It's like the 3rd or 4th day it opened, and that's why he signed with Disney later on.
Oh, I'll be dang.
Yeah, he was young.
Huh.
But would you go to Disney World?
I don't know if I would now. We've been trying to get on.
What if I took you? What if I guided you? You should go sometime. We've talked about
World is huge. There's all kinds of different parks you go to and everything.
Yeah,
I mean,
it's awesome.
I'll go with you, Dwight. Well, I've never been either.
Yeah, we should go. If you would ever consider it, you just let me know. I love it. And we've talked about that. I was like, because I always think about how you there's something about, because when you go there, you see a lot of grandparents, and we just sat in line with a set of grandparents that had their 6-year-old granddaughter.
Oh, wow.
They've been coming every year since 1989.
Wow.
And he was a big business guy. He put in very successful,
Yeah.
but they said exactly what I hoped they would say because I was kind of probing them. And they said, you have to come here to remember that you're youthful.
Hmm.
They said there's like something about it that's kept him going there to keep him like
Yeah.
this is really what it's about.
Yeah. And they, probably take several trips to see it all.
Oh,
I
yeah.
mean, yeah.
We could do Disneyland.
Hmm.
And I do love you talk about, I'm sorry your son's special needs. My mentor, one of them I was telling you about, their son was very special needs.
Yeah.
And so I have this like appreciation for him. And I had a cousin as well growing up. And I love that part of Disney. When you see these special
wow.
needs kids go
Yeah.
around to there.
Yeah.
And one time I ran into the same kid 3 times that day in line. And every time I could talk to him and he would be like, is this your favorite ride? It was his favorite ride. Every one that I met him in the line. And this dad, these parents work so hard. So I got to give you a lot of respect for that because it's not easy.
Well, see, we had our son for 30 years, and we had baseball. We had Challenger League baseball that he was on the team, but we coached the team. My wife coached the team for like 15 years.
Oh, good for her.
But the thing about the special needs groups, and it was a Challenger League, they call it. I don't know if you've ever heard of it, but
I haven't.
But it's special needs. And I did the sprinkler system for the baseball field out on Keene Road.
Okay.
It was all volunteer work. Well, part of that was a donation to the field for $50,000, I believe, for all material and everything, as long as they had a Challenger League set up. So we did the team, about 4 teams of Challenger League, and I mean they just you can never go wrong with those guys because they don't know what wrong is.
Yeah.
They're always happy.
Yeah.
They're always happy. So they're always running bases, and I mean,
There's so much.
You'd have them run past first base.
Yeah.
All the way out in the field and turn around and come back to second base,
Yeah.
But that group is just great.
Yeah.
So we've been in Goodwill. Brett was working at Goodwill for quite a while. The Arc of Tri-Cities is special needs.
Okay.
So we've been involved in all of that for a long time.
Good for you.
We're slowing down now. We don't. He still goes to Arc every once in a while.
Yeah.
But, I mean, yeah, we spent a lot of time with that group.
Yeah, I bet.
And I can just imagine what they did in Disneyland.
Oh, yeah.
I mean,
It's so fun to see. If you have any sort of like perspective or empathy and you see that down there,
yeah.
you just kind of have this moment where you're like, man, that's what it's about. Like, and you realize everything people do for them. And there's just, I think even Walt Disney himself, he said even like about like that's what it was built for. And he said that he has a rule there. I don't know if you know this, but with the characters, if the child gives the character a hug, the rule is the child lets go first because he said you don't know how much the child needed that hug.
Wow.
Like he just had this perspective of humanity and what they maybe needed. But I don't even know how we got. Oh, we were talking about the lessons learned. That's how we got on that subject. But
even like water skiing, we were water skiing and tubing. So we'd get this group into tubes, like 3-man tube, and you'd have a couple of the younger kids on each side, and then Brett would be in the middle. I mean, just having fun, always fun, always laughing, having fun.
Yeah. It's neat too how people around them, you learn compassion when you're around somebody like that.
Yeah.
And it's, I know like my mentors had their youngest son, they call him Bub, and he's mute. And so you could never communicate with him.
Right.
But I used to coach his older brother. He was 7 years younger than me in baseball. And they're very community. They raised a bunch of kids in the community. Great family.
Yeah, we did.
The best family. And all those kids that were in the house all the time on the teams, they all had like a secret handshake with him, and it made him feel like he was a part, and they just loved him. And they'd always say, sometimes me and Josh, his older brother, we'd talk about it and be like, sometimes I wish I had a little bit more bub in me, like I wish I just had that freedom of whatever.
Yeah, they don't have a worry or a care in the world. Brett has trouble speaking.
Yeah.
And we had him into sign language, and he still has trouble speaking, but he's if you're around him enough, you can understand him.
Yeah.
Put it that way.
Yeah.
But and a lot of them, I mean, shoot, you had people in wheelchairs and a lot of them, as far as coaching them, you'd have them in wheelchairs too, going around those bases.
Yeah.
Brett was running at the time. He didn't get into a wheelchair until later, but we'd push wheelchairs around that base. And, and you're out there in the dirt and the dust, and I'm sure there's dust getting in the wheelchair and everything, but they didn't care. It's nice.
Yeah, that's fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, you should go. You got to go to Disney World. You should ask him about it.
See, I don't have any grandkids from that side of the family, from the two boys.
You just got to go for your adult trip.
Yeah. Tyler's 45 and he's 41. He's not. I don't think he's ever going to have kids.
Yeah.
Brett's not capable. He's capable, but and then the two daughters that I have are. I'm great grandparents. I'm great grandkids.
Oh
yeah. So, yeah, it's different. In fact, one of the grandkids is going to do the washing of the shop and the house that I set up.
Oh, neat.
Yeah. So he's gonna come over with his pressure washer business and do that. So that's a grandkid, and I believe he has one kid.
It's funny because my grandparents, I talk to them very often, a couple, 3-4 times a week. I'm very close to my grandparents. And one time I was telling my grandpa, I was like, Grandpa, sorry I hadn't come up because this is the longest I go without seeing him now in the last couple of years.
Oh, yeah.
And my grandpa said, don't worry, you're making a living. And I was like, I kind of needed to hear that because I kind of felt guilty, but I realized my grandpa was, like, don't worry about it. You're busy,
It's a different, that's what I was saying about the VFW, the younger guys. They've got a life.
Yeah.
Kids, work. You get home, you get off of work at 4:00, 5:00, whatever time.
Yeah.
There's not a lot of time for anything else.
Yeah, and nowadays you're not going to go out boozing every night and make it through a marriage.
No.
You might get away with that for one night.
Yeah.
I wanted to ask you this. You might have some perspective on this. You were from like the sitcom era, right? Where there are a lot of the sitcom movies.
Yeah.
Was life ever like that with families?
It sure was.
Around, I always wondered that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Leave It to Beaver.
And you had neighbors and stuff where their families were like, or life was kind of slower. You think? But of course, you were grinding, but
yeah. I think all the families were, and it was open door too.
Yeah.
Your kids would run around with their kids, and it'd be mixed. We'd go into houses when we were younger. We'd go into houses and sit down and have peanut butter and jelly sandwiches.
Yeah.
They always bought. I know one family. I remember they always bought a big tub of strawberry jam. Well, there was a reason that they bought that big tub of strawberry jam and jars of peanut butter, big jars of peanut butter. And
Yeah.
all the families had that set up.
Because the neighbor kids were coming in and out. And,
yeah.
God,
And the neighbor kids, they just bought some peach jam or whatever.
Yeah. We're going over there for something new.
And you're hungry. You're running around all day long during the summer, and you get hungry.
Yeah.
You don't want to go back home half a mile away. So the mom would come out. You guys ready for lunch? Oh yeah.
Oh, I love hearing that.
Yeah.
I love hearing that because maybe it's just, I don't know what it is. I think that I try and make it that way with my kids. Like we had a kid here Saturday night, Sunday, even Monday night, a school night here at the house.
Overnight or
two of them were overnight.
Yeah.
One was just for the day on Sunday.
Yeah.
And I've always thought that was such. I don't know if I have the words like fantasize about that, but because I grew up in like the end of those sitcoms where they were very family oriented and
Yeah.
TGIF and
Yeah.
all that.
Yeah.
And so I always tell people like that's the way my house is, and you'll realize people feel kind of it's not common. Like they're like, oh, I hope
it
she's
isn't.
behaving. I hope she's. And
Yeah.
I'm like, trust me, my door is open anytime. I think I told you when you came here today. I
Yes.
was like, oh, you don't
Yes,
need a
you
call.
did.
Door's
Yeah.
open.
Yeah.
Yeah, I always told myself I would grow up to build my house that way because I saw maybe how it affected your generation. Where I think because I spent so much time with the older generation, where that's what they told me life was like,
Yeah.
and I always kind of respected them.
And it even goes back to the farms and the horse riding and all of that,
Yeah.
because there was nothing. You didn't have a computer to play games on. Shoot, games didn't come out until Wii or whatever those.
Like in the '80s, and there's the Mario.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
But there weren't. There wasn't so much internet. And who did the internet anyway? Somebody claimed to do the internet.
Well, Al Gore said
Al
he did it,
Gore,
right?
Al Gore.
Yeah.
What was that about? Who
Yeah,
really
yeah.
did do that? I mean, they just pushed it and got it going during his time frame.
Yeah, it must be. He was probably in on a conversation. I don't know. We should dig into that. If you want to come over for conspiracy theories, we should do an episode on that. No, yeah, but yeah, it's so true. I think that's when, like I said, I just talked to my buddies about that. How we were the last generation before the internet.
Yeah.
And so it's also, I always think about how too, like those moments of like having an open door for people. It's like, it's so, here's what I want to ask you maybe. You know how like now all these movie shows came out, like series about like bad people, right? You have these murders and you have all these true crime series.
Yeah.
I always wonder if that played a role into people getting a lot more hesitant about their kids running around and all that stuff.
It had to. There was, when we were in the military, people were coming from places that never had guns or anything. They never played it. They played outside, but they were playing in the middle of a heavy duty city.
Yeah.
Where we were playing in a more open environment, I believe. Same way with farms when that generation was really coming and growing up with farms. Now I don't think we're getting as much of that. Otherwise, your neighborhood kids would be running around here all the time.
Yeah. They do.
Do they?
Oh yeah.
Well, that's good.
Yeah, we have a bunch of neighbor girls and stuff, and they come in and out and around, and
yeah, that's good.
I'm proud of that. Like, I want that, because I'm a dad of girls, so I always have this like paranoia of like feeling him like I always make sure parents know everywhere their kids are at. Of course, now I realize they can track them themselves pretty much, or they have phones or whatever,
Probably,
which is nice.
Yeah,
but I always feel it makes you feel so thankful too that people will let your kids come over because your kids are your prize, your treasure, and so I feel thankful that we have a home like that, and that's what I wanted to create here because it comes from your generation, from being around that, and how lucky we were to be on the tail end of that,
to pass off some of your knowledge is a big thing, or even your collections, to your kids.
Yeah.
I save things just for the kids.
Yeah.
So I've got all the silver dollars that have ever been minted in the United States since
you have the one from every year?
1868 on.
Oh my gosh.
Well, there's more than every year. There's one from Carson City. There's one from San Francisco. There's one from Denver. So, and all those are going to go to my kids.
Oh, that's
so they're
cool.
going to split up the big bulk of the collection.
Yeah.
But at least each one of them will have some of it.
That's worth it. I can tell you that's worth a lot of money because I bought a storage unit once that had 20 years worth of it had the mint set of all the coins.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think I got like $1,100 for it. at a pawn shop.
These have, on an individual basis, these have all been graded. So they're all in a
Timeless.
capsule,
Yeah.
and they're all graded. So this one's graded at 64. Well, it's worth so much now. You don't have, there's no arguing. There's no, and that's it. And those are things that you really think you want to pass on.
Yeah.
And the knowledge, and if they can learn out of anything, and that's the way this book that I've been writing for my life is a way to pass it on.
Yeah.
The different chapters. I mean, I'm up to 40 chapters on it, different things.
Are you gonna finish it or just keep writing it?
I'm gonna finish it. Yeah.
Yeah, you have to get it published.
Yeah. There's different things in there, like the hydroplane races.
Yeah.
And there's stories about the hydroplane races. When we started going down there was carry in your, you'd take an ice chest and stay down there for 2 days.
Yeah.
And I don't think you can do that now. They're going to check your ice chest. So.
Yeah. No, if I end up there for 2 days, it was the second day was on accident.
But it used to be, a big thing in the Tri-Cities.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's still, it's pretty cool.
Yeah.
We had a Mike in here, the guy that mixed the air show with the boat races. We interviewed him. Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. He, and his wife actually. I hope more people come to those boat races. They're cooler. They're cooler than people think.
And there's more boats being created. There, some group like Madison.
Yeah.
Group from Madison, Wisconsin, I think, bought 2 boats, so they've added boats to the schedule.
That one's dead, huh?
And
Where were we at? An hour and a half. Nice.
That's pretty long.
Yeah, it is. We can always do it again when you're ready too. I could talk to you a bunch of times. Yeah, no. Which one? Oh yeah, we ask this every time. But we were wondering, we always ask if you could give a piece of advice to the younger generation, what would it be?
Oh, I could give some advice to the younger generation. Wow, just be truthful in what you do all the time. Can't lie about anything. You can't hurt people with your lies. And use your head. Use your head. Use your thinking. There's it's pretty hard. I'll probably be thinking about it in my dreams tonight.
Yeah.
But there's a lot that comes from the older generation. You need to pay attention to them.
Yeah.
And they're not trying to push their thoughts. They're just trying to push their experiences.
Yeah.
Because, boy, if I'd been told a few things like, don't get into business.
Yeah.
But, everybody thought a business is the American dream. Well, it's not unless you have a lot of work to do there to make it your dream.
Yeah.
And the knowledge that comes from the older people can be you can learn a lot.
Yeah.
So you don't have to experience on your own a lot of that.
That's right. That's exactly that's like I told you, that's why we do this. We call it hacking the system.
Yeah.
Why not learn the lessons from the ones that have been through it so you don't, waste time on the mistake, or you go into something with a little bit of knowledge so you can anticipate it correctly.
That's right.
I think it's the beauty, and it's the beauty, I think, of that humans live as long as we do as we get to do that. And you gotta take time to do it though. You gotta take time to ask the questions. You gotta realize, it's worth it to set aside that time to I think, to go down to the VFW or go to a retirement center
Right.
or just say hi to the person in line at the grocery store.
Well, we do flag presentations for a lot of the senior homes
Yeah.
around the Tri-Cities. Wow, there's some those older people, and we're talking another not so much older than myself,
Yeah.
but that's a different generation, and they have a lot of knowledge. And it's pretty easy to grab some of that knowledge just by talking
Yeah.
to people. When you ask me what would be something that I could pass on to the younger generation, it's really hard to come up with. You know? It's as far as on the spur of the moment type thing. But
I like what you said. I think being truthful is, because if you're not truthful with people, then they're not it's not a reality. You know, it's not, if you're not, I always think of it in this way. If you're not telling, like, let's say if you're being passive aggressive with like your kids and you're not actually telling them really what's going on, that one die. It's all right. This one's going. But if you're not really telling them like the hard truth when you need to,
right,
then they're not going to respond correctly.
No.
You know, and it can snowball from there. You got to be very truthful, and
they're
that's
not
just
going to
one
respect your word if they find out.
right.
Never try to. What do they say? There's a saying about that. Never try to be somebody you're not. That way, you don't have to remember who you tried to be yesterday.
Yeah, I like that.
And it's there's no fake news in a human. You can't be fake.
Yeah, I like that.
So it's and actually you enjoy life a lot better too.
Oh, I bet.
You know.
Yeah, you don't have to walk around with that paranoia of being found out.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like that. I hate that fake it till you make it when people say that. I think that's the dumbest thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, thanks, Dwight.
Yeah.
We really enjoyed our time with you. A lot.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, you're always welcome.
Yeah.
Always welcome.
Well, we'll keep in touch.